16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children is an annual campaign that is observed worldwide. The SAPS plays a pivotal role in dealing with some of the circumstances when we support our communities through outreach and law enforcement. Today, we're talking about that campaign, and we've invited in studio Major General Lukhele, the head of the FCS, Family Violence, Child Protection, and Sexual Offences Investigations Unit. General, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your visit.
Let's talk about what FCS is in the broader context of the work of the detective.
FCS is the component within the South African Police Service. F stands for family violence. S stands for sexual offenses. And C stands for child protection. The unit is divided into 3 sections, which is the FCS investigations, the serial electronic crime unit, and the forensic social workers. Those are the 3 sections within the component FCS, which is part of the detectives, that are playing a very important role in making sure that all cases of sexual offenses, related cases of assault against children, cases against all the vulnerable groups in terms of the sexual offenses, are getting the necessary attention they deserve.
Now, when you talk about some of the sections within the component itself, and I know that in the country we've got about 176 units that falls under your component. What should people expect when they visit police stations, especially to report cases of gender-based violence?
When people goes to the police station to report cases of gender-based violence, that will include, in some instances, sexual offenses cases. Sometimes it will be domestic violence related cases. Immediately the case is reported. I will make an example of a sexual offense case, a rape in this matter. Immediately the case is reported at the police station. The victim or the complainant, sometimes I'm saying the victim or the complainant, sometimes a mother is coming to open a case on behalf of a minor child. The two or the family will be taken to a victim-friendly facility where a statement will be obtained and the docket will be registered. And immediately after that, the FCS member, which is a specialized investigator, will be summoned. The police stations are always having the numbers of standby investigators, the numbers of standby officers. They will be activated together with LCRC, Local Criminal Record Center, to attend to the complaint of this sexual offense. Examination of the victim is always very crucial for us. The first thing, a member of FCS comes to the police station. The member takes the victim and the complainant, or takes the victim to the hospital. And whilst they are being taken, the two or the victim is taken to the hospital. At the same time, when the suspect is known, the members in the CSC are always ready and available in making sure that the perpetrator is arrested. And at the hospital or the Thuthuzela care centers, because with sexual offenses, we mostly utilize the Thuthuzela centers. And in the absence of the Thuthuzela center, we are utilizing the hospitals. There are dedicated doctors. There are forensic nurses that always attend to the victims of sexual violence, where the victim gets the social worker just to prepare the victim as to what is it that is going to happen, and making sure that when the victim gets into the examination room, the victim is prepared, because in the examination room it's only the doctor and the victim. There is no third party. It is the responsibility of the FCS member to make the doctor aware of this is the incident that took place, and over and above, sometimes you find the victim is being violated sexually. You find sometimes that the victim was assaulted, there are injuries, and so it is the responsibility of the member of FCS to request the doctor to make a full examination of the victim, and not that the doctor must concentrate on the sexual offense part, just to make sure that during the completion of the J88, that's the injury form, all the facts are being recorded there. And if the case have been reported timelessly, so of which we are encouraging our communities to make sure that the cases must be reported timelessly so that we get forensic evidence. We are using the kits that are being utilized to take the samples. We are having the ones that are utilized for adults. We are also having the ones that are utilized for children, to make sure that all the necessary forensic evidence is taken, is captured on the J88, and is packed accordingly also on the box. Whether the suspect is known or not, that forensic evidence is very much crucial, because the SAPS so far have managed to solve other cases whereby the suspects were not known through the forensic leads that has been obtained from the database.
So it also means that then you work together with other parts of the forensics and detectives, that either links through DNA and such kind of mechanism where you can link different perpetrators that are not even known.
We are working closely with the FSL, Forensic Science Laboratory, more so the biology unit. That's all where all the database is kept, for us to be able to make 100% sure that the suspect is linked, and in the absence or in obvious cases where the suspect is known, is still fine. But moreover, like I indicated, it assists in identifying serial rapists that are within the country. We are able to address, we normally say it's our cold cases, where a person will be raped during the night and the person did not see the suspect, but later on, through the database, we are able to identify who is the person that raped the person, even if the docket goes to the archive after fully being investigated, because we don't just take dockets that are not fully investigated to the archive.
Let's talk a little bit about convictions and the conviction rate. I know that in the last year, from April 23 to September 2024, we've had about 556 accused handed down life sentences. That's remarkable in terms of the work that you are doing. How do you feel about the conviction rate of GBV cases?
I must say it's very much commendable to the members that are investigating the cases, but also collaboration with other departments. We are working closely with NPA. We are working closely with Department of Justice. We are working closely with Department of Social Development, because in our cases are very much complex. Our cases are very much complex to an extent that there are cases that would need the expertise of the social development itself. Though we are having the forensic social workers, there are instances where we need social development closer. There are cases where we need to take, for instance, the witnesses under protection, and Department of Justice is playing a major role. And in our cases, from time to time, we consult with NPA. We consult with NPA. We make sure that all the necessary investigation have been completed, and before the trial starts, the victim or the witnesses in this case must go for consultation with the prosecutor, just to make sure that all the facts are in order, and the case, when it gets to the court, everything has been done. We are having court preparation officers. So those are the people that are available to make sure that we get convictions. The services of the intermediaries in cases of children is very much crucial. You'll remember that when coming to the children cases, they testify through CCTV camera, and no other parties except the court personnel are allowed in there. It is the mandate of the intermediary to make sure that the victim is well cared for, and that person will be the person that will realize when the victim is now tired. I'm talking about the minors. Then it is the responsibility of the intermediary to sensitize the court or the magistrate to say, it seems like he or she is now tired, and request for a break. I'm talking he or she because equally so, both men and women, they get affected when we talk about GBV, when we talk about sexual offenses.
And while we are on that, in terms of reporting such cases, is there a limit when it comes to the reporting of these cases for the victims? Let's call them victims for the purpose of this discussion.
There is no limit in reporting this kind of cases. Those cases are not prescribing. They don't expire. They don't prescribe. Anytime when a person feels that she or he has been violated, even if it's long time ago, we are always ready to take those reports, get the necessary statements. If there was a first report, a person that was told that the incident happened, we'll always get those facts, and then we'll do the investigation. And if there are grounds to arrest a person, we do arrest. If we feel the case must be taken for decision, there will always be a reason for that. Sometimes when there is no collaborative evidence, we don't say we don't have a case. We collect all the evidence that we receive from the complainant and we submit it to the SPP to make a decision. And if the court requires additional information, we always go out and make sure that the additional information requested by the court is submitted, and the person, if he or she is arrested, that is done.
And in terms of cases that are already registered, we've always been hearing that sometimes one of the problems or challenges your unit faces is the withdrawal of cases. Somebody registers a case today or reports a case today, tomorrow they withdraw or they change their mind. Are survivors allowed to just withdraw a case once it's reported?
We will remember that GBV has been declared as a pandemic in the country. And the government departments, especially NPA, South African Police Service, we are not allowing the victims to withdraw the cases. The reason being, you will find that there is a lot of pressure that is being put on the victims by various people. Sometimes it's the family itself, sometimes it's the perpetrators. Sometimes our victims are being promised some things for them to withdraw the cases. But we always make sure that we bring education to our victim or our survivors to make them aware. This might be the strategy that this person is utilizing. You might not be the first or the last one. So if you withdraw the case against this person, know that this person will continue doing this and more people are going to get harmed. So we don't encourage our communities to withdraw the cases. We don't encourage the parents to have meetings where discussion is being made for the victim to end up thinking that he or she is not being believed and therefore it is not necessary for the case to continue. We really make sure that that doesn't happen and all the cases must be successfully be handled at court, and whoever that is the perpetrator must pay for what he have done.
And General, earlier on you mentioned that both males and females are equally also coming and reporting this case. Let's talk about the male survivors. Do we have a lot of those cases?
We don't have a lot, but I want to say, let's not look into the male survivors looking at the adults. Let's look into the male survivors from childhood. We do have cases of boy children that have been violated. Sometimes you pick it up late that the boy was violated. And we do have adults that will be brave also to come to say, I have been violated. Though the cases are not many, but they are being violated.
General, as we wrap up our discussion, in terms of, I want to go back now to the conviction rate as we close. What can we do to make sure that we increase or we improve on the conviction rate and get more sentences to the perpetrators of gender-based violence, sexual offenses, etc.? Whether us as the police or the communities, how can they assist you to improve on those convictions?
I would say, let me start with the children. Our unit is very much, cases of the unit are very much complex, especially when coming to the children. We are having a resource, the forensic social workers. But we encourage our communities, when they see a suspicious behavior of the child, sometimes suspicious movement, the communities are encouraged to always to make sure that they don't just take that thing light. Some of the children, they do talk, even if they are small. The parents must come closer to the children and try to establish what happened. And the communities, they're not losing anything to go and report the case at the police station. We will always take the cases to, we will register the cases, take the victims for examination, just to make sure that nothing happened. But for a rape to happen, it doesn't mean there must be a penetration. We are not expecting to get injuries. A rape can happen without injuries. So the communities must just learn to know their children, see suspicious behaviors, and be inquisitive to know what is happening, so that the cases can be reported timelessly. And in the instances where the case is still fresh, the forensic evidence speaks for a minor child. The forensic evidence speaks for an elderly woman. The forensic evidence speaks for a woman that is under the influence. The forensic evidence speaks for a man that was under the influence when the incident happened, speaks for a disabled or a vulnerable person. So it's very much crucial that the communities must not hesitate if there is an incident of that nature to be reported timelessly. That lessen the struggle to gather evidence and to make sure the cases are successfully prosecuted. But not that in the absence of the forensic evidence that the cases will not be taken. Like I indicated, that the cases are not prescribing. So anytime when the incident has happened, it must be reported, and we arrest the perpetrators, and we take those perpetrators to court. That boosts our convictions. There might be various reasons also, because remember, the perpetrators, they're supposed to have legal representation. When we get to the court, there are a lot of factors that contribute to the delay of finalization of the case. And those factors are being taken into consideration until a case is finalized. It becomes very much helpful if the case is being dealt with whilst the facts are still fresh. The victim can still remember what happened and get over, though it's not easy, but to testify before the court whilst the incident is still fresh, because people do move with their lives, and it to a certain extent it becomes an embarrassment when we have moved on with your life. The police are still coming to say, but you have, on this year you did open the docket, and we have now managed to arrest the person. So we encourage that, really, the sooner the incident happened, of which we condemn that, but if our communities can just assist us and make sure that all the cases are being reported timelessly for us to secure conviction. We are convicting, and we want to make sure that the streets are clear and safe for all the vulnerable groups in South Africa.
General, let me thank you very much for your time. This is a subject that we should continuously talk about throughout the year, not only during the 16 days campaign. So thank you for making the time, General.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brigadier.
That was Major General Lukhele, the head of FCS within the SAPS, talking to us about a range of issues during this campaign of 16 days. We will now talk to Warrant Officer Glenda Mathebula, one of the star and rising detectives who is based in Tzaneen. But first, let's look at this insert.
The community of Mutupa village in Tzaneen will now sleep peacefully after 2 heartless rapists were sentenced to double life sentences and a combined 39 years imprisonment in the Linyenye Magistrates Court recently. These 2 perpetrators, Tangani John Mohuba and Aaron Makubela, will never see the sun again. This comes after they were found guilty and sentenced to a combined 4 life sentences and 39 years imprisonment for the horrendous crimes they committed against 2 teenagers. The 2 teenagers, aged 17, a boy and a girl, were attacked by the accused while on their way home. They robbed the boy of his cell phone and forced him to the local sports field, where they raped the girl and forced the boy to participate in this heinous act against his will. Despite the trauma, the survivors bravely reported the incident to their parents, who immediately alerted the police, leading to this outcome. Warrant Officer Mathebula had to apply her skills during the investigation to arrest the perpetrators.
I proceeded to the village to attend to the case, whereby I went to the scene of crime and applied my investigation skills. From there, we drove around the villages to ask if ever there was no one who saw the 2 survivors walking around and when they get attacked by these 2 unknown suspects. Fortunately, we managed to get the information that led us to the arrest of the 2 suspects. From there, I continued with the investigation. The 2 suspects were arrested and they appeared before Bulowedi Court. From there, I managed to oppose their bail. The challenges that we encountered during the investigation was that the identity of the suspects was shaking. There we had to rely on DNA. The DNA came back linking one suspect. So the other one had to confess in order to link the other suspect. And the fact that one of the witnesses was the brother to one of the suspects, he decided to withdraw to become the witness during the process. The case got ready for trial. It was transferred to Linyenye Regional Court, whereby the trial took place during 2024 March, whereby the 2 suspects were sentenced to double life sentence for rape, 10 years each for robbery, 5 years for assault. I was so happy when the 2 accused were given such a conviction. It sent a strong message to the community and to those who were thinking of committing the same offense. And also, when I went to the survivors to give them the feedback with such a heavy sentence, that made me feel proud about the work that I'm doing.
The survivor had this to say about the conviction.
Ke happy because mafelong ke fumane toka ene ba ba tshwere ke life sentence mme ne nka sa ba bona ene ke wisha ore le bana ba bangwe ba ka fumana toka o tshwana le nna ke moka mo ba fumane toka ene le ba ba sa kgone no bolela ore ba rapiwa or ba abusiwa ke wisha ore ba ba le that power ya ore ba ka bolela ore ba abuse of thaka or ba kgone go fumana justice. Ke le ba maphodisa a Tzaneen because ba kgone go thusha ba ema le rena ba cooperator le bena a botse ba re fa information ba di a di-follow up mo nyake a di-follow up ba make sure o di-docket tsa rona a di timele a o be le di-bribe a o be le dilo tsa go tsamaya ka tsela o sengwe so ba dilo di kgona go tsamaya ka lenaneo everything e tsamaile a botse till ba ite go tshwarwa ke a ba leboga for justice ba phelo yona.
I would like to say this to the survivors of crimes that when they come to open the case to the police station, they mustn't come back to us and say that they want to withdraw the case against the perpetrators, because in that way, the perpetrators, they won't see that what they did is wrong. Instead, they'll just continue violating other people's rights.
Warrant Officer Mathebula, that was a difficult and painful insight to watch, but it speaks to the work that you've done and your dedication and passion to justice. That's why even Parliament recognized the exceptional work that you are doing for securing 4 life sentences and an additional 305 years for the rapists. Let's talk about this case. What was the most challenging when you were dealing with this case?
Indeed, this case was very challenging and it was heartbreaking. The most difficult things which we encountered while I was investigating this case was that the perpetrators were not known to the victims. We had to rely on the community members for information, whereby some of them, they were reluctant to give information. As we know that at the villages, everyone knows each other. Some, they are related, so they didn't want to give information. But then there were some people who were willing to give information, and we got the information from them. Then during the trial, there was one key witness who was the brother to the perpetrator. He also withdrew before the trial to give testimony. So it makes the case to be difficult as well because he was one of our key witnesses.
So how did you eventually manage to arrest the perpetrators?
After we drove around the village seeking for information, that led us to receive the positive information about the perpetrators. That is how we managed to apprehend them with the help of the community.
So you are based in Tzaneen FCS. Within that precinct or in that area, how prevalent are cases of gender-based violence that you are currently dealing with?
They are prevalent. Remember, the cases of gender-based violence, they are huge in nature. And in my area, there are many. Most of the cases, they are happening in the villages. In town, they are happening. But the thing is, there are people who are not reporting cases, especially the married people. They don't report the cases because they're trying to protect their husband. Some, they will say that, no, he's a breadwinner, I cannot report the case. But then during divorce, that is when they are coming out to say that they want to report the case against my husband for raping my child. But then the cases are many. And let me say that in 10 reported cases, 6 cases will be gender-based related.
Now, when you talk about the challenges of non-reporting of cases, I'm quite sure there might be other challenges that you find when you deal with these complexities of gender-based violence, domestic violence, and sexual offenses. What are some of the challenges that you can talk to us about in terms of solving this kind of cases?
There's a different aspect on this. Let me say that one of the biggest challenge is economic freedom. Most people are relying much on their spouses. They are not working, where you will find that a husband or a stepfather rape the child at home. The mother failed to come to the police to report the matter because she's looking at the things like where are we going to stay when we report the case. The husband will go to jail. Some of the cases, the victim will come to the police after it has been reported to say that we want to withdraw the case. When you try to ask them what would be the reason why do they want to withdraw the case, they will tell you that no, we sat down with the family of the perpetrators, then I have forgiven them, or they are willing to pay for the damages. Some of the victims, they are afraid to give testimony in court, and when we force them or when we encourage them to continue with the case, they won't come to court. Sometimes they will come, but when they come, they will come and tell lies so that the case mustn't convict.
Now, when you talk to communities as a detective or as an investigator, what advice do you normally give in terms of what steps survivors can take immediately after a sexual assault, which will make your investigations smoother, or which will give you enough material to go to court?
I usually advise the survivors that immediately after the incident had happened, they must seek help. Like if the incident took place at the bushes, they need to run to the nearest place where they can get help. They mustn't bath. They must go to the police to report the matter so that they can be taken to the hospital in order to collect the evidence. And remember, the victim, the body of the victim is also the crime scene. So I also advise them that they must give a detailed statement of whatever that happened during that time and all the ways that has been said to them by the perpetrators, so that when we do the matrix, we must know that in this place or in this area there's a serial rapist who's using these words. If it's a vulgar words, then we write it down so that when we consolidate our cases, we must know that okay, in this area we are having a serial rapist also.
While on the part of serial rapists, because you've dealt with this quite a lot, what do you find in terms of pinning together a person to become a serial rapist? What constitutes serial rapists?
In most cases, when we read the statement, the A1 statement, which is given by the complainant, we check the type of area where the incident took place. Sometimes you'll find out that the person is targeting his victims at a specific place. Then we check that, we check the modus operandi, we check the ways which has been used, the type of clothes which the perpetrator wore during that particular time, and the types of victim which he is targeting.
Okay. And as we wrap up our discussion, we're still observing 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children. The issue of gender-based violence is always on top of everybody's agenda now. What advice do you have for survivors who might be currently going through a gender-based violence? Maybe they've not even reported it for the reasons that you've mentioned earlier.
I would say to the survivors of gender-based violence that they mustn't make GBV as a common occurrence. They must speak out, they must break the silence, and they must understand that a no is a no. And it is not normal, it is bad when somebody violates you. So they must speak out, and they must get someone whom they trust so that they can vet to them, because if you stay with something which is damaging you inside, you will end up doing something bad. Then tomorrow you won't be saying that no, I did this because I was going through this. And sometimes it will happen that you commit crime due to the fact that you have been violated, and once you commit crime, you will get arrested.
Thank you very much, Warrant Officer Mathebula. You are doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much, Brigadier.
That was Warrant Officer Glenda Mathebula from Tzaneen FCS. She's doing an amazing job, but there are many other detectives in the space who are doing amazingly as we observe 16 days of activism. Remember, if you need help, you can go to your nearest police station and report any case that you may want. You can use also our toll-free number or 800 10 111. Until next time, goodbye.